2026 is going to be an awesome year. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up. First off, we got Foundations of Recovery. This is our flagship program. We're starting it in January.
This is for anyone, man, woman, or couple who wants to come and reclaim their heart from shame, trauma, and betrayal. We start off with an education on all sorts of principles, give you the common language. We feed you from a fire hose in terms of all things recovery.
It is such a great start to recovery. And we get at the roots of things, Tyler. This isn't like any other program. Like, this is our healing journey in process, and Foundations is where we begin.
If you look at the value that you're getting there to kick off a good recovery with all of the right education, all of the right language, and a team to get you started while also being directed by Brandon and myself through the whole process, what a deal.
So if you're interested, if you're struggling, if you've been wanting to do something for a long time, jump into this. This only comes around every so often, and we would love to have you there.
Click the link in the description to sign up for it. And to make it even sweeter, we're also including a raffle for a free pass to the Radiant Dawn retreat. Anyone who signs up for Foundations will be added to the raffle for that free Radiant Dawn pass. If you're a man and you sign up for Foundations, your name still gets entered, and you can give that pass away if you win it to any woman that you want to.
So what you're saying, Tyler, is if you sign up and participate in Foundations, you could possibly go to Radiant Dawn for free?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is crazy because Foundations by itself is already an insane value.
Man, I sound so salesy. But it actually is awesome. So come to Foundations. And even if you don't come to Foundations, sign up for Radiant Dawn. It's beyond therapy, the best healing experiences that you can have.
Click the link below and come join us.
Hey guys, this is Brandon, the host of the Ask Brandon Anything show. This is the show where we take the most awkward, difficult, challenging questions that are keeping you stuck in your relationships and stuck in your addictions. We break them down, we discuss them, we validate you, we give advice, and we empathize. And most importantly, we help you find truth so you can get unstuck. If you have a question, whatever it may be, go to brandonpatrick.com and submit a question there for the show. All right, you guys, welcome to another episode of Ask Brandon Anything. I have with me my main man, my mentor, my rock in my life, my older bro, Tyler. And so a little bit about Tyler. He's my older bro, and he's about a year older than me. He knocked my 2 front teeth out when I was a little kid, and We've just always been tight. And one thing about Tyler is he's gone into the exact same thing that I do, and not just as a therapist, but what we specialize in as therapists. And so we have a lot that we talk about and a lot to connect on. And he has so much expertise as a therapist. He's been in the trenches. I think the other day you were telling me, Tyler, that you and I have made it longer than you're supposed to make it as a therapist. We're supposed to burn out by now and be done, but we're like 10 years past that. So
yeah, we have completely beat the odds. Like I think the average is, when you're working in the addiction world, a therapist's average burnout rate is less than 2 years, and I think between the two of us, we've got more than a quarter of a century.
I know, it's crazy.
So we must be a glutton for punishment.
Yeah, I don't know if we're stupid or tough, but we're doing it. So, but really, one thing about it is Tyler, and I think we get it from our parents, but Tyler has a big heart and cares deeply about people and their well-being, and so, and not just their well-being, he loves people, and you can feel that from him, and his clients just absolutely love him. So, having said all that, today's topic, Tyler, is shame. So, shame's a hot topic. It's fun. It's funny when you talk about shame. First thing that comes up is Brené Brown. But really, she's not the first one. She's kind of piggybacked off of a few other amazing therapists and teachers. but hopefully we can give our own little angle on it as we've worked with it in our therapy practices and we see it day to day, to talk about specifics about how to start to shift out of living a life of shame and overcoming shame, like what that really actually means. Okay. So I have 3 questions here that I've gotten. So the first question for you, Tyler, is where do all of my self-doubts and shame come from?
Well, that's a really good question. So you just get these questions from people
Instagram.
from Instagram?
Mostly, yeah, and on my website.
Okay, yeah. So that's a really good question, and there's probably a multiple faceted answer to that too, as well. So before we jump into that, could we just maybe, for those who aren't quite in the know, even though I think pretty much everyone listening to this probably is familiar with the topic and subject of shame, just sort of define shame really quickly?
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. So there's a couple of different versions. The Brene Brown version that you've just referenced is basically the effect is that the belief that there is something in me or about me or something that I've done that makes me completely unworthy of love and connection.
Yes.
Right? And I think I like Carl Jung's definition of shame just as well. And he calls it a soul-eating emotion, something that feeds on itself, and it needs fear and isolation to survive.
I love that definition.
That definition,
only Carl Jung can outdo Brené Brown, huh?
Yeah, basically. And it really looking at it, he's one of the grandfathers of this whole idea of shame, right? And but it's this idea that, and we all struggle with it. Like this is something that is part of the human condition. So we look at shame, we think, oh, this is bad, or I'm bad if I feel it. It's like, no, like every one of us at some points in our lives is going to wash through shame.
Yes.
And we all experience from time to time this fear or feeling that I'm inadequate, or I'm flawed, or I'm not good enough, or I'm in some way unworthy of love and connection and attachment.
Right.
So that's the definition that we're looking at. And then to go with the question is,
can I drive something home? I really want to drive it home, Tyler, what you just said. Because I think a lot of people think of shame and they're just like, oh yeah, that's like self-doubt. That's I don't love myself. And both of those definitions that you just said, both Brené Brown's and Carl Jung's, have everything to do with abandonment and disconnection, loss of attachment. So much of it is based in fear of rejection, right?
Yes, and that's really important to distinguish, because if we look at like our being as human beings, we can't really survive alone.
Yes.
Like one of the worst things you can do to somebody is put them in solitary confinement. Yep. Right? We have all the research of the infants that were in orphanages that have all of their needs met, but they don't get physical touch or connection and closeness, and they just turn their heads to the sky and die. Right? Like this is built into us on a cellular level. This is built into us like at the core, that we have to have attachment connection. So if you think about it from that perspective, yeah, exactly. It's like, well, if I now have a belief or a feeling that something about me would make me exempt from that.
Yes.
It's not just this little like, oh, like I feel bad about myself.
I'm lonely.
It's the worst fear we can have in the world.
Yes, it's terrifying to the level of like survival. Like I don't have air to breathe. I'm gonna freak out because I feel like I'm not gonna be loved.
Absolutely. And so shame is more than just this belief thing. It's an all-encompassing sort of like emotion. Like it's a feeling as much as it is a belief system. It's all tied together.
Yes.
Right? Yes. So yeah. So and understanding that is really important, because if we understand that it's based off of our core needs, and it's also being fed to us as a result of some of our life experiences and some of the ways that we've interpreted our life experiences, then we get a chance to actually start to look at how we can unravel it instead of just being stuck in it and feeling like we're going to be unworthy the rest of our lives.
Yeah. Yep. So you just kind of hit on the answer to that question. You know, where do all my self-doubts and shame come from? You talked about life experiences and then interpretation of our life experiences. That's kind of the seeds of it, correct?
Right, exactly. And it's hard because we all grow up in our own lives, and because they're our own lives and we don't have a perspective other than our own lives as we grow up, everything that we're subjected to happens to be seen from our own personal lens, which then becomes the truth to us.
Yeah.
So as we're being raised, you know, and you and I come from the same parents, and we both have roots of shame in different stories and for different reasons, but we both have them.
Yeah. Very, very, I mean, the same environment we were raised in, but you looking through your eyes through that environment, and you did have some different experiences than I had growing up, but you looking through your eyes in that environment, you started to get feedback loops that started to really solidify faulty core beliefs and self-doubts, right? And this is every person. I'm talking about you, but I'm talking about everybody. Yeah. This is
the way life is. And even in the best of situations, even in the perfect family system or whatever, we still are going to have those moments where maybe somebody is imperfect and they mistreat us in a certain way, or maybe at school we get rejected in a certain way. Or, you know, for me, like, you know me, like being the oldest of, you know, parents that obviously every child wants to please their parents. I felt a lot of pressure to want to make sure everyone was happy and taken care of, and my personality is that way a little bit too. And so as a little child growing up, if there's ever any tension or stress or worry in the family, I feel that pressure. And because I'm a child, I don't have the brain power to see it from a broader perspective. I go, uh-oh, what's wrong with me?
Yeah. It's interesting. Like, and you just made me think next episode we need to do on family roles.
That'd be a good one.
But I just did an intake yesterday with a guy who is like, he was such a good man. And I get talking to him, and he played that role of the family hero. And, you know, he took care of all of his siblings, and he was supposed to be the good kid. And his parents just praised him and thought he was wonderful. And what was fascinating about that, you'd think being a family hero, you'd have little shame because everybody thinks you're awesome. But all of the family heroes listening to this right now are saying, like, no, the pressure and that feeling of, you know, if they really knew me, everything would crumble. I'm trying to keep this together because my role is to be good enough. But deep down, I know that I'm broken. And so when you have that dissonance going on, it just feeds narratives of shame. Is if they really knew me, they wouldn't love me. I'm not good enough as I am. I've got to put on a show. And that's just one example. Playing the role of the family hero. Playing the role of the lost child, you're going to have different ways in which you feel shame, not seen. Playing the role of the scapegoat or the family clown, or all of these different perspectives that you come from are going to feed some shame. Now, I want to ask you, Tyler, you say life experiences. Talk about major trauma.
Yeah, so that's what I was gonna, part of the answer to the question, I think, is that I think in a broad sense, we just kind of grow up in systems that are primed for us to experience some shame, even if it's innocuous and not on purpose, or, you know, like
in a really good family system.
Sure, like, even a really great family system. There are also pivotal moments in our life that I would call traumatic moments, and they could be the little T type of traumas that you hear about, where they're just like, you know, maybe you're constantly excluded at school a little bit, but it's not like you're being bullied. You're just kind of not included. Or it could be the big stuff where, you know, I get physically abused by somebody.
Sexual abuse, bullying.
Or maybe I'm even in like a car accident and I feel like I'm responsible because I was being really loud and distracted. And so we start beating ourselves up. And it's in those moments where moments of trauma happen in our lives. And by the way, we live in a world of trauma, so none of us are exempt from this. You know, everybody has trauma in their life, but it's in those moments of trauma that the way that we process and interpret that trauma is either going to drive us into a pathway of fear and doubt and shame and self-criticism, or we're gonna be turned into places of meaning and perspective,
Growth.
and growth, and most of the time we're going to go through a little bit of both. We're going to go through the shame and the fear and the doubt, and then we have to figure out how to get ourselves back on the pathway of growth and change, and understanding that what we're going through is just part of the human condition.
Right. Yep.
But trauma is that, like, it's that pinch point where that has a chance to happen. And the reason why that's so true is because trauma happens on more than a rational level. It happens on a complete system level,
a soul level.
A soul level. And
physical,
you have this deep physical response, you have this emotional response, and learning happens deepest when you include that physical and emotional response. And so that's why trauma is such a big piece of most people's lives. And that's where they constantly come back to these patterns that get established as a result of the trauma and the beliefs that form in the trauma.
Yep. I know that, a child, our natural tendency as a child is to say, look, mom and dad are safe. They have to be safe because, I'm a little kid and I need mom and dad to be safe. So I'm just going to believe that they got it together and they're safe. And, if mom and dad neglect you, or mom and dad put you in a situation to get abused, or instead of saying, you know what, maybe mom and dad aren't good parents, or maybe mom and dad aren't safe, we internalize it and we say, it's not mom and dad. I must be doing something wrong. It must be me. And that's why this bad thing is happening. That's why this trauma has happened. It's not them. And we internalize that and we start to take it on ourselves.
Right. And that's not a blaming thing you just said, Brandon. That's like, we can't help it.
Right. It's a natural thing.
We're growing. We've got children or adolescent brains. The world operates around us when we're in that state. We can't help it. So we have to try to make sense of the world. And so often the way that we make sense is from an inside out, like, well, this is happening, and there must be something that I'm doing, or something that I'm not, or something that's wrong with me that would make this be happening in my life, because that's the only perspective we can really see it from in that moment.
Right. And that's when the shame starts to get fed, right?
Exactly.
I want to give an example or two, and some little T trauma for me. 5th grade, mom goes to Highland Park where we go to school. She's walking down the halls and I get all excited to see her, because like when you see your mom at school in 5th grade, it's fun. It's cool. It's not embarrassing. So I run up to her. I'm like, Mom, what's up? Well, what are you doing here? And she kind of acted a little different, and she's just like, oh, I'm just here to sign up Tyler for a class. And I was like, oh, really? What class? And she says, oh, the smart kids class, basically. And then somehow I got out of her too. I'm here to sign up Rex too. Now Rex is our brother who's 2 years younger than us. So I'm right smack dab in the middle of these two geniuses. And mom's saying like, yeah, I'm here to sign Tyler and Rex up for the smart kids class. And to me, in that moment, my mom did nothing wrong.
No, she didn't do anything wrong.
No. But to me, it just boom, I start to internalize it. How come she's not here to sign me up for the smart kids class? Well, I must be the dumb one in the family. I must be the one who's not going to thrive and be smart. And so I spent that one little incident I internalized, and I spent the good part of all of high school trying to play the role of the dumb one. And I try to get a 2.9, which is interesting. I wouldn't want a 3.0. I'd get a 2.9 because that was my role, right? I had to, and it wasn't true. It wasn't true at all.
It was never true.
But the belief, my identity became truth to me. And so every time you did something well, you thrived in school, what that represented to me was how I'm not thriving in school. I look through this lens of how am I going to just fail enough academically? And I believe that I wasn't enough. And I'll maybe a little bit later, I'll talk about how that totally shifted for me. But that's an example of a faulty core belief being developed, right?
Right. Now, I'll add to it from my perspective, going through the same things, right? I remember being put into the gifted thing in elementary school. And when I was put into that space, I felt like a total imposter.
Oh, interesting.
I felt like I shouldn't have been there. And then as I grew through grade school, well, you were in 5th grade. I happened to be in 6th grade. I had Miss Angie Weirden, and
She was
she was like
crazy.
this, she was the craziest, like strictest teacher in the
She was a
world. But for
cop.
some reason, yeah, she was a police officer in her old career. But for some reason, she like loved me, and she nicknamed me Angel
Angel
Boy.
Boy. That's right.
She nicknamed me Angel Boy, and I remember
That's the
feeling,
worst nickname for you. And
oh,
that.
first the worst nickname, because I was already this perfectionistic kid that had to be like everything to everybody, and now all of a sudden I was Angel Boy, and she'd put me up in front of the class and be like, "Look what Tyler's doing," and everybody's doing it. Do it like Tyler does, and I would just sit there and on the inside I'd just cringe and be like, "Oh, I'm the biggest fraud."
Corroding from the inside, this
Yeah,
imposter
like
feeling.
I was just feeling like I had all these expectations that I knew inside I was never going to meet. Was it Miss Andwern's fault? No. Was it Mom's fault? No. It
Right.
was the way that I was interpreting my own life that I felt all this pressure to perform. And so in the same type of a scenario, you were interpreting and eating your shame.
Yes.
I was interpreting and eating my shame, and it really in this case wasn't anybody's fault.
Right. I actually, to get a little bit like deeper, and we don't have to go here for too long, I actually believe that we're given our shame for a reason. And like as we're talking through this, you can hear how in a lot of ways you can't avoid it. On one end, you're put in the smart kids class and you feel shame. On another end, I'm not, and I start to develop faulty core beliefs and shame. But I believe that these beliefs and the shame, it when we can learn how to overcome it, that's when we really start to get a glimpse of who we really are. And that's when we really step into our power, understand our power as a son of God or daughter of God, is when we can learn how to overcome the shame. So the shame is actually an important part of growth. Problem is we get stuck in it, and we can stay stuck in it for the rest of our life. But if you can learn how to counteract it, if you can learn how to work through it, you're going to find your biggest strengths there.
I use the analogy all the time in my therapy, and I feel this way in my own life so strongly and so deeply, that shame and our traumatic experiences and the struggles that we go through in our life, as we're going through them, it's like we've just had a big pile of crap dumped on our heads, and we're just swimming in crap. But if you figure out how to be resilient to the problems and struggles and shame and trauma that's in our life, that crap becomes fertilizer, and it actually becomes the very place where if you plant your roots, when you go make sense of it, you grow into something magnificent and beautiful. And
I love it.
you cannot have that growth without the crap you have to go through to
Love
turn it
it.
into fertilizer. Does that make sense?
Oh, dude, you just gave me the chills. Like, and you're talking about crap.
Yeah.
but I mean, it gives me the chills because not only my own experience in my own life, but to see my clients. And one thing that we're so blessed to see is we see both ends of it. We see shame kick the crap out of people, and they get piled under that stinky, horrible stuff, and they suffocate and they wither and they die. But we also see people like fight through it and grow, and just the strength and the resiliency of a person who can go through so much stuff and become stronger because of it. All right, I want to ask you the next question, which actually goes perfectly here. So it says, I have always felt flawed, broken, and not enough. Can I really change that, and how?
Oh, that's a good one. So whoever wrote the question first, like, welcome to the club.
Right.
Like you are definitely not alone. That is probably maybe the most common feeling that anybody's going to feel. So
yet at the same time, it's so isolating.
Oh yeah, but it feels so alone.
You feel like you're alone.
That's the big lie here, is we all feel that way and nobody wants to speak it out loud, so everyone thinks they're the only one.
Right.
Right. But the truth, the answer to that question, and I would say it as just from personal experience in my own life, but also from like as you referenced, the miracles that we get to see. Like I feel so privileged in our work we have the best job in the world on one side because we get to witness literal transformation and miracles every day.
Yeah.
People who figure out the principles of shame resiliency, which we'll talk about here in a second, and they start to actually adopt those things into their life, the answer to your question is an emphatic yes. You can change, and
Yes.
there's a life on the other side of shame that is so rich and vibrant and colorful. And what I would say is that it's more of an ongoing process than it is I kick my shame and I never feel shame anymore and it's all gone. It's like, no, I learn a skill set, I learn a way of living that every time I go into my shame, I'm able to resource myself. I can become resilient to it and I can move through it.
All right. So speak English to people on that. Resource myself and become resilient. So break that down to like, what does that mean?
Yeah. Okay. So basically we're talking about skills of shame resiliency.
Okay.
All right. And let's just talk about 3 really easy practices, three tools that you can start to adopt immediately into your life. And we'll call them the 3 C's. All right.
Yeah.
So the first C is context. Every time I start to feel that emotion of shame, I get knocked off my feet by it. I feel like a pit in my stomach and everything drops and it feels heavy. I feel this like sense that I want to either withdraw or I want to try to protect myself. When that feeling comes up over any subject, and it could be over anything, it could be over whatever our biggest insecurities and weaknesses are, is usually where it lies.
Okay.
I'm going to pause for a minute and acknowledge that that's what's happening. And then I'm going to try to add broader context to the situation I'm in by doing some things, checking the facts. So if I'm feeling shameful about the fact that maybe I struggle with infertility, I feel like I'm the only one. It's going to want to draw me into this pit and leave me feeling stuck and alone and helpless. Context would say, no, pull out. Wait a second. There's how many people in the world are struggling with something similar to me?
Right.
I'm not alone. There are literally millions of people right now that are struggling with very similar issues. It's not going to change the fact that I have the issue, but what it's going to do is it's going to pull me out of that isolated feeling that shame wants me to be in.
Yes.
And as I check the facts and as I start to deconstruct the problems that I'm having, I'm going to start to see more and more that I'm in the realm of what it means to be human. And that's by nature going to push me into connection with myself, head and heart, with other people in general. And that connection itself is going to start to move me away from shame.
So in a way, what you're talking about is you're really controlling your mind here. Is you're noticing your limbic response, which is your emotional response that's going to take you out of reality, and you're practicing mindfulness and to get to your wise mind, to be able to really look at what's actually going on right then and now. And rather than go to this emotional mind that's going to catastrophize, it's going to tunnel vision you, isolate you in your feeling. It's like, whoa, broaden out here. What's actually going on, right?
Yes.
So like an example would be, let's say I initiated sex with my wife and she like rejected me. She's like, no, not interested. And so shame's triggered, like, I feel rejected. I feel like she just doesn't want me. I'm not a good enough husband. I just start going there, right? If I were to broaden out and put it in context and just fact check, what would be some things that I might see?
Right. So if I'm looking at it from a context standpoint, first is there's probably literally multiple millions of men in the moment right now feeling the exact same way. Like that's probably
and women. Women
yeah,
get
I mean, we're just talking in your example, but yeah, exactly. It could go either direction, of course, obviously.
Right.
So, but yes, like you are definitely not alone. Like,
right. I'm not the first one to get rejected.
Yeah, and when I pursue my partner sexually, it's very vulnerable, right? Like
right.
The reason why it hurts so bad when you get rejected is because it feels like you're sort of putting yourself out there in a vulnerable way.
So that's part of the context is I've been vulnerable. I put myself out there.
Exactly.
I'm not alone.
I've just acted in a moment of courage, if you want to put it that way.
Sure.
I've been rejected, and so nobody likes that. That obviously doesn't feel good. So it's okay that I feel a little bit of this feeling,
sadness or whatever it is.
Like it does. And then the fact check is, the storyline in shame wants to say, therefore you're unworthy of love and belonging.
Yeah. All of this
That's
meaning to it.
that's
It has to do with my self-worth.
exactly. The fact is that my partner
Said
just
no.
said no and happened to not be in the right headspace or heart space in the moment, and so it has nothing to do with me potentially, and it's okay.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
so that's a fact check. It's that teasing out that lie that says, okay, it's okay to feel rejected and to feel sad, but it doesn't mean blank.
And
Those two things are being tied together.
I love that, Tyler. And I think too, like, I might also get so far in this fact checking and contextualizing that I can get to a place not of just managing myself and being resilient, but actually having some empathy and compassion for her. You know, like, well, this has been a hard day for her. She's tired. There's good reason. I really care about her right now, not just wallowing in my own stuff.
And it'll foster deeper connection if you can do that, because what's the natural tendency is like, I'm going to roll the other side of the bed and give the cold shoulder and like pout and like do my thing or whatever. And instead, if I have that context, I can go, oh yeah, I'm still feeling it, but she obviously must have been having a rough day too. I might stay leaning in and like put my arm around her or talk to her and listen to her or grab her hand and say, hey, you know, I just want to connect with you. Are you, you know, do you want to talk
But
about
that comes after being resilient to that shame, contextualizing.
If you don't check the facts, you never get to that second part, which is still connecting.
Yes.
Because you get knocked off your feet and it unravels the other direction.
Right. Man, that was a good example.
So I
haven't talked to my brother much about my sex life. This is good.
Yeah. So all right. So let's move on to the second C. Okay. This C comes from the language of Brene Brown, but it's called courage. And courage, in the way she defines it, is to learn to tell the whole story of who you are with your whole heart.
Love it.
So if I'm feeling that shame, what it wants me to do is just slink off into isolation or insulate and not let people see me because it feels vulnerable. And it takes just an act of courage to the right people to speak it. Yeah. And when I can speak it out loud and it gets held by the right people with empathy, shame dissipates.
Yep.
It goes away. And so I have to be cultivating a team of the right kinds of people. And what I mean by the right kinds of people, these are people who are willing to like learn about what your issues are, but then also learn how to practice the skill of empathy. And so when you bring them something, there is very few things more healing in our work than to watch somebody, say, come into a group and they come in and they present something that is extremely vulnerable. Maybe they share part of their, like in our case, they're going to come in and share like their history of sexually acting out. All right. That there's so much shame wrapped up in that history. And when they speak it out loud, they're deathly afraid. They're afraid they're going to get ostracized from the group. They're afraid that people are going to judge them or never want to talk to them again. And after they speak it and they're met with, geez, bud, me too.
Right.
Wow. Like, thank you so much for sharing that. I can't believe how much more I love you as a result of you telling that. Like, that took so much courage.
And this is the story that they've been holding for 25 years, beating themselves up, hiding from everybody, deflecting and shame screening all over the place. And now they've just outed it. And the response is, we love you. And it's like, it just takes all those faulty core beliefs and shows them as faulty, right?
Yeah, exactly. It exposes all the lies.
But the critical piece, sorry to cut you off. The critical piece is that guy's courage to write that down, to show his face in group and to speak it.
He'll never get that beautiful experience if he never has the courage to speak it.
Yep.
And, you know, we'd say the line I say in my practice all the time is, you no longer have a secret. You have a story. And if you can learn to speak the story of your secret to the right people, it fractures that shame.
That secret's dead, gone.
The more you share it, the more you share it, the more it releases. You know, and so as people like, they come in and they like, I would never tell anybody this. And by the time they're done with treatment 2 or 3 years later, they're like half the time going, who else can I tell? Like,
Right.
like I want to help somebody with my story. Now my story means something to me. It's valuable. It's like,
Yep.
that's part of that process of turning the crap into the fertilizer
Yep.
is, I got to learn how to speak it to the right places. Now you don't want to go do that to the wrong places.
Right.
Like I don't want my guy to go share his sexual history to his boss.
Right.
He won't have a job afterwards.
Who would fire him and tell him what a piece of crap he is.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's got to find the spaces where people can hold it. But then when that's held, there's a lot of power in that. It releases that shame. So
I think what the example you're giving is showing up, like talking very openly. I think the antidote to shame is courage, and that Joseph Campbell, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek. And so if you want that treasure of being an authentic, powerful person, then you're going to have to step into that cave. And that cave, there's darkness, and you don't know where you're going to step. And these secrets turn into stories. Secrets are not just what you're not saying. It's things like, I'm not gonna dress in a certain way that I don't want to dress just so everybody thinks I'm cool. I'm gonna dress like I want to dress, and I'm gonna trust that I know I'm cool and I'm good enough, even though they might think that I'm not. Right? Like, so I'm not gonna pose. I'm not gonna put on this false self. All that shame screening, all that false self, those are all secrets. They're all hiding. They're all lies. Once you face the lies, you step into that cave. Like you say, it fractures the secrets. It kills the shame. And what do you know? I was watching Oprah once or something, and I can't remember how she said it, but she's just like, once you figure out that you can just step into your fear, it holds no weight. And look what she's gone on and done in her life. Like, has she put herself out there? I think so. Not that everybody has to go do what Oprah's done, but the point being, the way out of shame is to do the opposite action of what that shame is telling you to do, right? And do it consistently.
Exactly. And it's like, that's the problem, is the worst part of the shame is the fear. And the worst part of the fear is the lack of action. Like, it's paralyzing. And yet it's not easy, right? And yet we as human beings, I don't believe we're built for easy. We were built for hard.
Yep.
And there is no easy way through it. It's the hard way, but it's a beautiful way.
Right.
It's a transformative way. That whole Joseph Campbell quote, like, the reason we love Joseph Campbell and his theory is because every one of us resonates with the fact that the only way a story is good is if you go through the depths of hell before you have your triumph.
Yes.
If you're given everything beforehand, then there's no good story. It's like, we don't want to watch that on a movie screen. That's just an entitled, spoiled person.
Right. So like we're talking about this hero's journey. I didn't think we'd get into this today, but you're given your wound, you're given your shame as a kid. Now you're given your opportunity to step into that and to face it and be vulnerable. And this is why vulnerability and courage is the antidote to shame. And then you're given your triumph and your reward. But you'll never get that reward unless you step into that cave, or unless you jump, or unless you stand up in front of that group and share your story, right?
That's the answer.
Yep.
So the third C. Let's do the third C.
Okay.
Compassion. Shame hates compassion. And what I mean by compassion is compassion for self and compassion for other people. So as you get that mindfulness and go, oh, I'm being knocked off my feet right now, or, oh, you know what, I just totally like snapped at my kids and I'm feeling like I'm a terrible dad, right? Instead of going like, you're a terrible dad, you're never going to be enough, like they deserve somebody better than you, or I decide to get defensive and start being even meaner to them and meaner to my wife to protect my pride or whatever. If I can pause and actually access compassion for myself, I'm going to move through my shame much more quickly and much more effectively. And what that looks like is, geez, Tyler, you just kind of had a bad moment as a dad.
Right.
You know, everybody has bad moments as dads. Your heart's pure. It's good. You want to be a better dad than this in most cases, and most of the time you are. It's probably not that big of a deal. What do you have to do to make it right?
You're okay.
You're okay. Like, go say you're sorry. Make some new commitments, get busy showing up in strength as a father again, and that you have all those tools. So go do that. Like, you're okay. You're going to be okay. Right? Now, people hear that this one and they go, "Ooh, that doesn't feel right." Like that means if I let myself off the hook all the time, then I'll just keep being a terrible dad. It's the opposite. It's the opposite. It goes back down to the core belief of who do we actually think we are?
Yes.
Do you see yourself as the imposter who's no good? Because if that's the case, then you want to be critical to yourself. But what if you're actually the good person who once in a while has a human moment? Now it's like, okay, yeah, I'm a good person. Like, I'm going to keep working at this. I'm going to keep getting better. I do a ton of good. I had a bad moment.
So compassion is seeing yourself or seeing somebody else for who they really are, because who they really are is somebody who's imperfect, who's going to make mistakes, but who's completely worthy of love and good. And yeah.
The measuring stick is no longer the mistake that I make. The measuring stick is the fact that I happen to be a living, breathing miracle that is already infinitely valuable.
Who's going to screw up at times.
Who is built to screw up. I mean,
yes.
Name a single person who you know who doesn't screw up.
I thought it was you growing up, but...
Well, you know far better than that now, right?
I guess so. Okay, so to recap, context, courage, and compassion. And I'd like to add one C. And I think it's as important as any of these three, and that's consistency. Is go practice courage once, and you'll have a life-changing moment. It will change your life if you practice courage once. But go practice courage over and over and over again, and you won't just have that moment. You'll have a new identity. You'll start to uncover who you really truly are, and you'll see it. And so that consistency, that repetition, I believe is key. So what do you think about that, Tyler?
Absolutely. It becomes the way of life. And that's when you're talking, like, if people are thinking, I'm going to get rid of my shame. No, you're never going to get rid of your shame. You're going to get so habitually used to being resilient to your shame that it's just the way you live.
Right. Yes.
Right? So you get knocked off your feet for a couple of minutes. Boom, you pick up the principles we're talking about, acts of courage. That's the way you live your life. You're moving on already, instead of like 3 days under the covers going, I can't believe I just did that.
Right.
So it's the consistent action that turns it into habit.
Yes.
And that becomes the way of life. So yes, I absolutely agree with you.
So can you overcome shame? Absolutely. Can any person, Tyler, any person living today, can they turn the tables on their shame? Can they overcome it?
100% yes. And it's all based off of principle. It's not like some like lottery thing you're going to hit and find. It's like, start practicing the principles and stay committed to those principles and watch your life transform.
And I got to say, once, after listening to this with Tyler and what he's been talking about, you know too much. And if you want to stay stuck in your shame, you're not going to like what he just said. You're because now you're going to have to hold yourself accountable. Now it's your choice to step out of your shame, step through your fear, learn these skills. There's so many resources now. And just in the last 10 years, so much light has been shed on this topic. And it is absolutely possible for you to come out of this. And once you come out of your shame, everything improves. Your career, your relationships are deeper and more real. You'll probably make more money, be more successful. You might not, but everything starts to improve once you're not living in that doubt and that shame anymore.
When you become shame resilient, you move from that idea of a fixed mindset into a growth mindset. And by nature of that, you give yourself permission to go and explore and fail and be creative. And that's where the growth in our lives happens. So yes, you will find it in all aspects of life, acts of these principles, courage, compassion, context. You become a better employee, or you become a better business owner. You become a better father and husband, wife, mother. You become a more full and complete, what the term we use is wholehearted person.
Yes.
And that wholehearted way of living look around the world. There's not very many people that most of us would find in our lives that we could sit and go, that person seems really wholehearted.
Right.
But those people that we have in our lives that live that way, they're like magnets. We're all drawn to those people because we envy the life that they have.
Yep.
And all that they've done is figure out how to master these principles.
And how to be themselves and how to be authentic.
Yeah.
All right, Tyler. So we could go on, and I'm going to have you on my show, obviously, over and over again. So this is not the last we'll hear from you, Tyler. But how do people find you? Love Strong? Love-Strong?
Yeah. So the website is love-strong.org.
Okay.
And we also have a Facebook page that's love.strong.org. And either one of those is, we're basically just preaching the principles of wholehearted living.
Yeah.
Trying to help people like embrace tools and skills and ways that they can continue to move their lives more and more into these places that we've been talking about.
Yep. Tyler and I, we've done men's retreats. We've done couples retreats. We're always developing things. Tyler speaks in public a lot, in all different forums. And so, hunt him down at Love Strong. And it's been great having you, Tyler. I really appreciate it.
It's always awesome to get together with my brother, man.
All right. We'll see you.
Sounds good. We'll talk to you later.